Good evening to you all. This is the London Signal, broadcasting live on the shortwave frequency. It is Sunday night, the 15th of September, 1930. The time is just past 11 o'clock here in London. It is a quiet night outside. The fog has rolled in off the Thames and settled over the city like a thick gray blanket, muffling the sound of the traffic. It feels normal. It feels sane. But inside this studio, the atmosphere is anything but quiet. For the last 2 hours, I have been listening to the radio feed coming from Germany. And if you have been listening to, you know exactly what I am talking about. The noise coming out of Nuremberg tonight is not human. It sounds like a machine. A machine made of 100,000 throats screaming in unison. They are calling it the Party Rally of Freedom. Freedom, a cynical name for a gathering that celebrates the exact opposite. But you have to give the devils their due. They know how to put on a show. I have been reading the reports from our correspondents on the ground in Nuremberg, and the visual descriptions are almost hypnotic. They describe a Cathedral of Light. Albert Speer, the architect, has surrounded the Zeppelin field with 150 anti-aircraft searchlights pointing straight up into the night sky. The pillars of light go miles into the air, creating a cage of illumination. It is pagan. It is primal. It is designed to make the individual feel small and the leader feel like a god descending from the clouds. But tonight, they did not just march and sing. Tonight, they gathered the Reichstag, the German parliament. But they did not meet in Berlin, where parliaments belong. No, Hitler ordered them to come to Nuremberg. He dragged the government of Germany into the heart of a Nazi rally. And there, amidst the chanting and the hysteria, they passed 3 new laws. I have the text of these laws here on my desk. The ink is barely dry on the translation. Bad. And I must tell you, reading them makes one feel as if we have stepped into a time machine and gone back 500 years to the Dark Ages. But these are not medieval edicts. Bare modern laws, written by lawyers, printed on typewriters, and stamped with the official seal of a modern European state. Let us look at the first one. IT is called the Reich Flag Law. Until today, Germany technically had 2 flags, or the old imperial colors and the Nazi swastika, well, as of tonight. The old Germany is officially dead and buried. The swastika is now the sole national flag of the Reich. It is no longer just the symbol of a political party. It is the state itself. Every ship, every embassy, every government building must now fly the crooked cross. If you insult the swastika, you are no longer insulting a party, you are insulting Germany. The merger is complete. But the flag law is just the decoration. Curtain raiser. The real horror lies in the next 2 laws. The second one is called the Reich Citizenship Law. It sounds boring, doesn't it? Act like a tax regulation. But listen to what it says. It states that there are now 2 kinds of people in Germany. There are citizens of the Reich who possess German blood, and there are subjects of the state. Think about that distinction. A citizen has rights. A citizen can vote. A citizen has the protection of the law. A subject is a guest, and a guest can be asked to leave at any time. With this one piece of paper, Adolf Hitler has just stripped 500,000 German Jews of their citizenship. B's are men who fought in the trenches of the Great War. Women whose families have lived in Frankfurt and Berlin for centuries. People who consider themselves as German as Beethoven tonight. They are going to bed in the same houses, but they are waking up tomorrow as stateless ghosts in their own country. They have no passport. They have no vote. They are legal strangers. And then we come to the third law, the one that reveals the true obsession of this regime. They call it the law for the protection of German blood and German honor. Blood and honor. It sounds like the title of a cheap romance novel, doesn't it? But the content is purely biological madness. This law forbids marriage between Jews and citizens of German blood. It forbids them from having relationships. It turns love into a crime. It turns the bedroom into a crime scene. From tomorrow morning, a registrar in Germany will not ask, "Do you love each other?" He will ask, "Let me see your grandmother's birth certificate." They are trying to legislate biology. They are trying to purify a race as if they were breeding racehorses or prize dogs. And there is a clause in this law that is so absurd, so petty, that I had to read it 3 times to believe it. Listen to this. It forbids Jewish households from employing German female servants under the age of 40-5. Under wife because. Presumably, in the twisted mind of the Nazi lawmaker, a woman over 45 is no longer in danger of, shall we say, tempting the master of the house? It is grotesque. It is an obsession with sex and race that borders on the pornographic. I need a moment to light my pipe. My hands are shaking slightly, I must admit. You know, for the last 2 years, since 1933, we have watched the violence in the streets. We watched the boycott. We watched the book burning. We watched the night of the long knives, where they shot their enemies in cold blood. But this feels different. This is not a thug hitting you with a club. This is a lawyer hitting you with a piece of paper. WHL, and in many ways that is far more dangerous. When a thug hits you, it is a crime. You can call the police, but when the government passes a law, the crime becomes the system. From tonight onwards, the persecution of the Jews is not an excess of the revolution. It is the legal framework of the state. Judges will enforce it. Policemen will uphold it. Bureaucrats will stamp the forms. It makes hatred respectable. It makes cruelty administrative. And the world. What is the world doing while this happens? Well, I looked at the other newspapers on my desk. We are all talking about the crisis in Abbasbach. We are talking about the economy. And next year, in 1936, just a few months from now, the whole world is planning to go to Berlin for the Olympic Games. Yes, the Olympic Games. The festival of brotherhood and fair play. We are going to march into their stadium, salute their flag, and pretend that everything is normal. We are going to run races and throw javelins in a country where it is now illegal for a German to marry the woman he loves because her grandfather went to a synagogue. The hypocrisy is suffocating. I wonder what the British delegation will do in Berlin next summer. Will they raise a glass with the Nazi officials? Will they compliment them on how clean the streets are? They will probably say, "Oh, well, the laws are their internal affair. We shouldn't interfere." Internal affair. That is the phrase we use to wash our hands of moral responsibility. I received a letter yesterday from a friend of mine in Hamburg. He is a doctor, a brilliant man. He served in the Kaiser's army. He lost a lung to mustard gas in 1917. He is Jewish. He wrote to me saying, I do not know who I am anymore. I look in the mirror and I see a German. I see a soldier. I see a doctor. But the state looks at me and sees a virus. He asked me if he should leave, if he should pack his bags and come to England. For a long time, I told him to stay. I told him this madness would pass. I told him a nation of culture like Germany would eventually wake up from this nightmare. Tonight, after reading these Nuremberg laws, I am going to write him back. And I am going to tell him only one word. Run, while you still have a passport. Run while you still have some money. Run before the subject of the state becomes the inmate of the state. Because the walls are closing in. The definition of who is human and who is not is being rewritten. Today it is the Jews. Who will it be tomorrow? The Catholics, the socialists. The people with blue eyes. Once you start drawing lines through humanity, there is no end to the subtraction. The lights in Nuremberg are shining bright tonight. The searchlights are piercing the sky. But down here on Earth, the darkness is getting deeper. This is the London signal. I am going to finish my drink and try to forget the sound of those 100,000 people chanting in the dark. Good night, and God help us all.